It's,
Okay.
are you gonna take roll call or?
Alan, should we take roll call or?
You're welcome to, Mark. I've got whoever, it looks like myself and Luke, Mark, Pat Igo, Keith Deinert, Pat Igo again, Scott, and then all copy.
Okay, well, the three of, thank you. The three of us are here for the utilization committee.
Okay.
And I have, I have a question. I just looked at the agenda again and noticed that VFW's on there, but I don't have a packet for VFW.
They were included in the PDFs that we got from Kim.
Oh, they were?
They were.
I must be looking at a different.
I don't know if they were. I don't know if they were in your mail packet, but they were in the email packet.
Oh, did she mail a packet?
She just.
I don't know if she
emailed.
emailed. Yeah, she emailed it. It was in that email packet.
Okay, I'm looking at the one from yesterday, so maybe it's in the first one. Either way.
If it helps, Mark, I can do a screen share if you need to see it.
Sure.
I don't know if we're muted or what.
Let's see here. Well, I'm gonna, since the city's here and they've got, it looks like 3, why don't we start with Mataska?
You don't need me to share that one, I assume.
Negative. I have
Right.
it. Thank you. So the only thing I see about this one is it shows where your moorings are, but doesn't show how far out they are. Do you have any idea how far out those last moorings are?
I do not. I know the moorings, the anchors have been set for, obviously a number of years.
Oh yeah, I get it.
With the fluctuating high water level, I'm not sure where they're currently at. We can definitely get that measurement once the spring, once the ice is out, we can actually locate them and put the buoys on.
Sure. Yeah, the only thing that I would ask in the future, I have no problem with this now, personally, but in the future, if you could show a drawing with the ordinary high water mark and then the distance out from the ordinary high water mark.
Definitely can do that.
And that will help us with our ordinances. So anybody else have any questions, Scott or Luke?
I just had a quick question. This is Luke. Who do we have on from the city?
This is Paul Kelpie. I'm the Public Works Director and City Engineer.
Okay, Paul, thank you.
I spoke with Rick earlier today briefly, and he said he was going to have some trouble, so Paul would be here.
Yep.
Not a problem. I don't have a question on this one. This one looks same as last year. I have a question on the I want to get a measurement from him on the boatwork stock.
Okay. Well, as far as this one goes, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Or wait, do I need a vote for you, Alan?
In what sense?
Luke,
Can I
says aye.
just call the vote like we usually do and say we all are in favor? You don't have to do the roll call like the board meeting, right?
No, because you're making a recommendation. You can say that there were no unanimous decision to support the application as presented.
Thank you for that. All right, so that passes. The next one I have is the one I think you have questions about, Luke, is the commercial marina.
Yeah, I mean,
Same as last year.
Coming in same as last year. As I look at the drawing, I don't have a measurement from the ordinary high water mark to the end of the docks, and I would like to make the permit conditioned on that measurement coming in.
Okay. Yeah, what is it? Total dock structure length into the lake from the edge, 324. But yeah, our ordinance is ordinary high water.
And I want it. Yeah, I want it added to the drawing.
Okay, is that possible, Paul?
We can get that measurement for you.
Okay. Other than that condition, does anybody have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that passes. And then the next one is Vets Park, which actually I don't, as long as you're staying in your ADUA and you don't have more than 4 boats on there, I appreciate the application, but I have no problems with it. Anybody else have any questions?
You're talking about the pier?
Vets Park, yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just those, understanding the reason that it's a permanent structure, they need a
This is
permit for it
permanent,
every
yeah.
year. Are we waiving the application fee?
Yeah, I'll waive the application fee because it's for the public to use.
I would vote aye then.
Scott?
Aye.
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 All right, that passes. Paul, so yeah, just those couple of things on the ordinary high water to end of where you're using the lake.
Yep, we can definitely get those for you and get that on the drawings.
Yep. Let's see, what's the next one? That's Park. Docks of White Bear. Anybody here for Docks of White Bear?
I gotta try.
Can you hear me? Mark, can you hear me? This is Brian.
Yeah, I can hear you, Brian.
He's coming under mining.
It looks like you're muted, but I can hear you.
We're a little technically challenged at this end.
All right.
No, now I'll show you.
Can you hear me okay now?
I could hear you before, yeah.
Okay.
Is he now?
All right. Does anybody on the LUC committee have any questions?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, we're going from 250 to 260. What gives? I don't know that I'm in favor of expanding 10 more slips. We got a lot of pushback last year by going to 250. We got a recent letter from the city saying that 250 is probably more than they want. And, I don't know that I'm ready to go to war with the conservation district over 10 more slips. I think we were comfortable with the 250 last year. The length is still longer than I think we should be based on our ordinances. However, as I look at the ordinance, we are able to adjust that. It's already written into the ordinance in ordinance number 5, subdivision 1.b, that the authorized dock use area for multi-user docks and moorings shall be defined as part of the license from the board. So, I mean, I don't, excuse me. We're looking at length that's longer than our 300 feet. It's actually going to 350 feet. The city of White Bear, the reason I requested the length of their docks is because I'm going to shoot for uniformity or I would like to see uniformity so that I don't care if the city looks arbitrary with regards to their parking ordinances and whatnot. I think the board really needs to be consistent with either the number of docks per foot of shoreline or the length of docks, which makes it self-limiting on its own. And right now, it looks like the city is going to come in at about 3 1/4, maybe a little better than 3 1/4. And I think really we as the LUC should recommend, all right, in the commercial bay, 3 1/4 is it. That's it. Now we don't need a bay study. We don't need a lake use study. It's a self-limiting regulation that at 3 1/4, we cut you off. You can't use any more. You can't go into any more navigable water. And, that way you can have your 250, which is what we approved last year. City, if theirs works, fine. Whatever we see on the drawing from tallies, fine. And we leave it at that. I'm not in favor of going up to 260 though.
No.
Can I comment on that, Mark?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my comment is this, what goes into a DNR permit? I mean, it's not something that just happens with a wave of the pen. It's not like going and getting license tabs. In order to get a DNR permit, it's a fairly comprehensive process. It took us several years to accomplish that. And I just want to, read into the record, the agencies that actually review this during the few years, one of them is the EWR district manager, conservation officers, the BWSR wetland specialist, the DNR regional environmental assessment ecologist for region 3. There was 2 of them that did that, the DNR wildlife up at Forest Lake, the DNR fisheries. There was a person from the county that reviewed it, from the Rice Creek watershed district that reviewed it, and the Ramsey County Corps of Engineers reviewed it, as well as the Ramsey County Conservation District. And, I think that the only expectation that we have is fairness. I haven't ever complained about the number of cities docks. I haven't complained about Tally's docks. I've written letters to the board doing an analysis if in fact we did do what the report said back in 2004 about there being a disproportionate amount of boat slips to the north of Whitaker. And that the recommendation that was never taken up by the district was to divide those slips up by linear frontage. If we took the linear frontage right now, and I think I pointed out to the board in the past, if we had the same as Tally's had before the request, we'd have 400. If we had the same as the city of White Bear Lake right now, we'd have 360. We have 487,000 square feet, basically 78% of the Marina Triangle district. We're permitted to have 7 docks. Yeah, we put out 5, and we did 5 to try to give some additional spacing in between the docks that we have. We know that we actually did a survey of all the docks and we turned it in. We know what the other docks are. We haven't tried to be the dock cop. We know where the violations are, but that's, not what our concern is. I mean, we think that, right now, especially during the COVID time of the year, the more people we can get out to White Bear Lake, I think the better off all of us are. We still have the most space in between each of our docks. We're not right up against the property line like a number of the docks are. We have close to 50 feet in between them. And to say that we go to 260, well, I'm okay, as is I'm okay with, if you say, okay, this is the amount of lineal frontage that we have in Commercial Bay. We take it, from everyone's ADUA area and divide up the slips. But I don't believe you're going to do that because both the cities and Tallies are going to lose docks and we gain some. And we're not advocating for that. We're just advocating, give everyone what their DNR permit is. This isn't done in the middle of the night. This is the DNR as an objective third party going over the Commercial Bay and assessing it on a multitude of levels, be it environmentally, be it with the fisheries, be it whatever you have. And
I get that. And as far as the 10 boats go, that's not a hill I want to die on necessarily. But I will say this, our ordinance is 300 feet.
Correct.
Plain and simple. The DNR did not contact us before they did your permit, and we're not made aware that we have a 300-foot ADUA. So that number came about without knowing what our actual ordinance is. And I'm not against, for Commercial Bay, changing that. But yeah, that's more my way. I believe.
If I could respond to that, Mark, real quick.
Sure.
The reason a lot of the lengths changed, as we all know and have lived, is the lake level went down. 300 feet, we had mud.
That's why you went out to 400
I
feet.
mean, that's I agree 100%. And there is a caveat in the DNR permit, and I can send you a copy of it if you don't have it. But in essence, what it says is at 922.5, then you can extend your docks out a certain amount. Could we put in 7 docks? We have enough room to do that. It'd still be more space than what the city has in Tallies. We were just looking at giving more maneuverability to the existing customers that we had. And we thought, if you look at the aerial picture, especially the ones that you did, with the cameras, you can see that for the most part, the VFW and our docks and the cities are all about the same length, I mean, but that's completely up to you. We'll do whatever everyone else's rules are. If you're saying that's what everybody else has, we just don't want to be held to a different standard than anyone else.
We're trying to make a standard, and we're trying to keep, we took boats off of Aqua because of crowding. So the thing is that we're trying to standardize as best we can. We're trying to go with the DNR as best we can. But we also have ordinances, and now that the water's back, our ordinance is 300 feet. So yes, can we do variances? But wouldn't it be just easier just to say, let's decide on how long the docks in Commercial Bay can go into the water past the ordinary high water mark?
I think, Mark, as long as everyone else does the same, and I pointed out to the board in letters, we actually went so far as to do a survey of all of it. That's how you know exactly how long our docks are.
I get that. Hold on. I would like, Paul would like to break in for a second, because they're also, we're kind of off subject as far as yours goes, but I'd like to get this talked about.
As far as the length of the docks goes, we're very open to, working with all parties involved in the marina area. I think the biggest thing that we have as far as our concern is, no matter what that length is, no matter what the number of slips is, it's still a land use issue as far as the number of parking stalls that are required for the marina. So that's, we want to go on record to state that, in this case, there's, a CUP for 200 slips. It can increase, but that CUP has to be amended.
Let me ask.
Oh, we really want to die on the.
Wait, hold on. My name. I would like to ask this, because we would like to get out of the land use. If they've got a permit with the city and you want to mess with that, that's fine. You have means to do that. However, I have a question. Now, I've seen golf carts going back and forth. Who's using those golf carts for parking?
For that, I don't know.
Because isn't there a city lot on the other side of 61 that there's a golf cart that people can use if they have to go to some of the marina parking or to their boats?
Mark, I can answer that if need be.
Sure, thank you.
This is Keith from Tallies. We have in part of our conditional use permit, we have on our music nights, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, the authorization to give us more seats, and therefore we need offsite parking. So we are utilizing a golf cart to shuttle people to the old Public Works lot for supplemental parking.
Well, shouldn't that be offered to everybody?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, if I might, Luke here, I would really caution against going down the parking rabbit hole based on the arbitrary nature of the city's allocation of parking spots. That, Mark, I think we get into some dangerous territory that I think the city is really exposed to some arbitrary regulations or arbitrary distribution or practices that I really don't think we should expose the board to. I think we should stick to and really focus our efforts on the actual ordinary high water mark and into the lake. And I think there'd be enough parking questions as we go along, I mean, if as an example, we got a letter today saying that even Docks of White Bear doesn't meet it, with all their parking, doesn't meet the parking regulations. And so, and that's even, I don't know what that is. What's that noise? But that's even at, I guess that's the cat filter. That's even at 250 slips. So, I mean, I really would hate, Mark, no, let's not go down the rabbit hole of parking for this with the city.
Gotcha. I agree.
I'd like to comment on that.
That's why I started with, I'm not concerned about what the White Bear Lake Conservation District is concerned about is impact on the lake and following.
Exactly. Exactly my point. I think almost we're at a point where, between 260 and 250, we can almost call the question on docks of White Bear.
Okay, so let's get back to this application. Scott, do you have any comments?
I'm fully prepared to raise my hand for 250 slips. I'm not ready to go up to 260. So if the recommendation from the LUC would be amended to 250, I would certainly vote in favor of it.
Scott, what are your thoughts?
Can I comment on that? Are we
No,
going to reduce
I
anything?
need to talk to every
Okay.
member of our committee.
Okay.
So I also would be in favor of the 250. Talking the 250 versus the 260, I feel like it's a minimal difference. I'm new to the committee here. I don't know if this is an ongoing thing, if it's, extra 10 slips now and extra 10 slips next year. I mean, I could see a problem there. If the length of the dock supports it, the parking spot supports it, the land use supports it. I guess 260 isn't on the question, but I think we do need to standardize it to make it, moving forward, what's allowed.
Okay.
Mark, can I comment when you're done?
Go ahead, comment.
My comment is, I don't, think it would be fair that I would be not only the only one in Commercial Bay that wasn't granted their DNR permit, I would also be the only one in either one of the districts. As I checked with Minnetonka, they've always given all of what the DNR recommends. And I'd be the only one in the state of Minnesota. And you're not saying, hey, we think we got too many boats, so the city should be cut back a few, Tally should be cut back a few, the DFW should be cut back a few. You're saying you're the only one that should be cut back your permit. I'm not saying we should cut back from anybody's permit, but if you're saying that, then it shouldn't be arbitrary. It should be, okay, this is why we're doing it, and everybody's, going to get a reduction, and then,
Yep.
Like it or not, or we're going to do it by linear frontage. I've said all along, a fifth grader should be able to figure this out. You
So
take the
let
linear frontage.
me, before we start throwing out insults,
I didn't mean to insult anybody.
well, I'm not.
Yeah, no, and Mark
So,
Hans?
anyway, yeah,
Mark Hans, Luke Michaud. Number one, I don't take that as an insult, but what I'm saying is if 260 is what fits on 350 feet of dock from the ordinary high water mark, we haven't decided as a board that you're going to get 350 feet. And what the DNR says or doesn't say, what the DNR said about 8 years ago, Brian, would have put you out of business if the conservation district hadn't stepped in and said, knock it off. Because they weren't going to allow you to do the configuration that you did. And what I'm saying is I'm not certain that the district should say 350 feet is the length. I want to know what the city comes back at with their length of dock from the architect or the actual length from ordinary high water mark to the end of the dock. And maybe that's the length that we go because it's seemingly a more permanent structure. In my world, it all depends on how much can you get between 300 feet and 325 feet or 350 feet. And so it's not like we're picking on you based on the fact that or saying you don't get it because your DNR permit doesn't allow it. Look, last year I was saying you got to get back to 300 feet, but obviously we're not going to do that. And so we're going to I think we need to pick a number and everybody gets that number. I'm done.
Well,
I have to bring that up to the board because that would have to be a new business and it will have to be.
Well, and it really doesn't. It doesn't only because it's already codified in our ordinances, ordinance number 5, section 2, or subdivision 1.b.a, where it talks about multi-user docks, and we as a board can decide, or by permit, we can decide how long the docks should be. I just think we can't have Brian's docks at 320, someone else's docks at 420, and the city's docks at 380. We need to come up with a standard number. Because that's something we control. We can't control parking. We can
Yeah,
control
but
ADUA.
if we do that, I would rather just have an ordinance that say commercial marinas, you have this for your ADUA and not have to go through each
Yep.
one of these every time. To
I
say,
agree
yes,
with you
we're gonna
100
give you a variance, yes, we're gonna give you a variance, yes, we're gonna give you a variance. But we're
And I
only
agree
gonna
with
give
you
you.
100. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% because we can't control parking. It's none of our business.
So here's what I'd like to move forward then. I'd like to say, and like I said, 10 votes out of 260 is not a hill I'm gonna die on, so, but 2 people on this committee have already said they'd like to put forward 250. So that's what I'm gonna put forward to the board, and it can be discussed at that level.
Are you gonna reduce anybody else's, Brian?
We've,
We're not even here. We're not even going to hear the
Ops has
next
been
one.
reduced since they started.
Okay. I mean, and the other point that I want to make is on our DNR permit, which you have a copy of it, we have the right to put in 7 docks. So if you want to have it a little bit less, we could do that. It really crowds things up, and that's why we didn't do it. We try to give as much room for everybody as we could, because some people are bad drivers. You know, I think Keith will attest to that. And what are you gonna do?
You can make that argument to the board. I'm gonna put it forward to the board as is with 250 votes. Is that okay with you, Luke?
I'm sorry. One more time. Yeah, 250. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
I'm in.
Scott,
Yeah, I'm in on 252.
that's what I'm gonna put forward to the board, and I'm outvoted on it anyway, and I'm
He meant
almost abstaining
250.
on it. So
And he meant 250 also, not 252, Brian.
250.
Correct. 250 also.
All right, that one's done.
Mark, I got one more question for you, Mark.
Sure.
That 250, which I haven't, I'm not agreeing with, if I have the boat slips for Admiral D's that people don't stay overnight, is that included in my 250? If I have rental boats, is that included in my 250? If I have a work boat, is that included in my 250? If I have a personal boat, is that included in my 250?
Boat's a boat. Boat's a boat.
Flip the
Actually,
flip.
the Admiral
I
should.
I just asked the question, you know, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've never changed on that, and that.
When you say one last question, when you say a boat's a boat, you're talking about staying overnight. If someone pulls up and leaves there in 2 hours, we have transients. I wouldn't call them transient, but just some parks that nobody stays overnight at. How does that factor?
You know,
You will get whatever we permit to stay overnight.
Got it.
That's what that means. If you've got something sitting there for a week, it should not be there for a week.
agree.
It should not be there overnight.
I just
If you've got a boat that's broken down and you're helping them out and you want to give the conservation district a call and say, there's a boat here, there's a mechanic going to come out on Wednesday, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Luke?
yeah.
Okay, Scott?
Say, question, how many transient slips are we talking about?
Yeah. And I
I wouldn't say there's a lot, you know, I would say half a dozen, 10 at most. I don't know.
well,
You're
it's still-
saying-
it's-
you're
Just
it's
just-
trying to
still-
get clarity. We had,
Yeah, I don't know. We're a slippery slope here. That's still a slip that you control. I think slip's a slip. You're gonna
I
have a
don't think
boat in.
so. I mean, we got a retail business. We got docks and shops. People go
Well,
to Wall Street.
let me put it this way, Luke. If I go to the VFW to grab a burger, we don't count those
Well,
at the end
okay,
for
all
the
right.
tie-outs.
All right, I get it. All right, then with all the slips, let's have them mark them. Slip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then mark them or guest only slips. No overnight parking. I'm cool with that.
I'm cool. Yeah, if you want to have some areas and mark them no overnight parking, awesome. That'd be the safest way to go. The other thing, as long as we're all here before we move on to the next one real quick, is that for storing docks on the lake in the winter, we're gonna have to make some rules because there's been some accidents out there, and we're gonna need some markings or reflectors or lights or something. So that's just a quick note. So you know that's gonna start being talked about before next winter. Let's see, what was the other thing? Well, let's just move on to tallies. So Keith and I spoke today for a little bit, and what we'd like to do is pretty much table this, from what I'm reading, to next month. I don't really see anything necessarily wrong with it, but the drawing is just not where it needs to be. And we want to see both, if you're gonna put it in for both properties, I want to see one drawing for both properties. Again, ordinary high water mark delineated with out to the end of the dock. Do you agree that's what we discussed, Keith?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's doable. I can make that do. It is going to be just a one property that we're talking about. Everything from the waterfront will be joined.
Okay, and then I have one other question, because Paul said that the city's not going to be concerned about the other dock lengths. Do you have a problem with next door being 350 feet?
After what I went through last year, we had to get a variance. It was appreciated. I'm doing everything possible to bring us back in and to be in the 300 range, or the 325 or whatever number we come up with. So
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
All right. Scott, Luke, any other thoughts?
Nope,
Nope.
just a actual drawing.
Okay, so then we're done with that. That's going to get tabled. Furthering, we'll say a more complete application. And then, like I said, I don't have the VFW, but it's on the agenda. If it's same as last year, then
I can
I'm
tell you,
okay with it.
Mark, I've looked at the VFW's application. It is the same as last year. I compared it to the year before. It's fine.
Scott, any questions?
Nope.
All right.
Unless somebody complained about them.
God bless them if they do.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Okay, got it. That one passes. And then Luke or Scott, do you have anything else to add to the meeting?
I don't have anything else other than I think we do need to set that commercial bay length limit. And our ordinances allow us to do it by the permit. And so we don't need to even change the ordinance. It's
Gotcha.
it's a very elegant and graceful way of being able to make sure that everything is set and and people are being treated equally.
Yeah, I'm definitely not for a one size fits all, because I don't necessarily believe in it, especially on places that aren't all square and,
No, but in the commercial bay area, it allows.
I get it. I get it. I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. I like our ordinances. It gives us flexibility to deal with each individual space.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, then.
Mark, can I make a comment?
Feel free.
Because of the fluctuation that we see in the lake, can we put something, if we're gonna take a look at, some ordinance that's limit space, can we come up with some trigger points if it drops? I mean, there's no question that we're more susceptible to the fluctuation, the water level, let's say, than the VFW. If they drop 2 feet, it's no big deal. We drop 250 feet, we might lose 30, 40 slips.
Well, absolutely. We have no problem with that. We've never had a problem with that in the past. How long was that dock 5 years ago? 450 feet?
It's on a DNR permit because they came out and measured it. It was 552 feet.
Yeah, see, so we understand, and we're always willing to work, and we don't want to take people off the lake. We don't want people not to be able to enjoy this, what we have.
The other thing that I would really think is important to us, and when I say us, I say the White Bear Shopping Center, because ultimately I'm the operator. There were operators before me, there'll be operators after me. I'll have a long conversation with Mr. Track after this, because this impacts value, it goes to revenue, is that he's a big proponent of divide them up by linear frontage. I don't care what it is. If we've got 720 linear feet and the city's got 324 linear feet, then we should have a comparable amount based on linear frontage. As the same with VFW, and we're we're pretty strong on that. You know, I think that that's how you come up with fairness. You just do it one time. We never have to have these meetings about somebody get 5 more slips, or did they have 10 last year? Here's what the rules are. These are the lengths. This is the linear frontage. Here's how we got your number. Game over.
If you want to re-engineer that lake and make it one straight line all the way across the commercial bay,
It's pretty
same
straight.
depth all the way out the whole way to 350 feet, I'd be all for it.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
I want to make.
All right. Well, we've got a meeting coming up and I'm sitting in a hotel room, so I'd like to take 20 minutes off to grab some more water and we'll see you back. Keith, you're good. We'll see you next month.
Are we switching to the other Zoom meeting? ID?
What I'll do, gentlemen, is quit the recording of this. This is your host. And I will end up starting the other meeting. I did them as 2 separate meetings. It was almost impossible to record and pause and pick it back up. So that's how I arranged it this month. So yes, Keith, to answer your specific question, there should be another meeting.
There
I
is,
don't think
okay.
I passcode enabled it, but there should be a separate meeting for the 7 o'clock.
Yep, I see that. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Keith, you want to know what the temperature is here or anything?
I have a good idea what it is there.
A lot better than it was yesterday.
It's going in the right direction, and I'm dealing with way too many frozen pipes. So yes, I know it.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll see you in like 20 minutes.